So we're all talking about the same thing, yet at the same time, we have a very unique experience of that one same thing. For example, all the creation stories that we've heard, the flood stories, the virgin births, the idea that this world is some sort of an illusion. Even Plato talked about the parable of the cave. And all these stories are found throughout history. And the differences is in the language, which is reflective of our consciousness that we use to describe the experience of this one thing. A perfect current example that we're talking about at the Let's Get Metaphysical class is the recurring idea that this world is an illusion or a dream of some sort. That's everywhere. And the new idea that's being explored is that not that it's so much a dream, but that we're living in a virtual reality. That's a different description, same idea, which is that there is a greater, more foundational reality than this world. In any case, I think we have a large enough overall view of the scheme that we can appreciate and use the various ways of expressing these apparent differences. Having said that, let's take a look at these 4 agreements. We begin by stating what they are. The first one is, be impeccable with your word. Second one is, don't take anything personally. Third one is, don't make assumptions. Now, I don't even know why they put 2 and 3 in here, because I know nobody who has ever taken anything personally or makes assumptions. But, we'll just go over them anyway. Suppose we did. Agreement number 4 is always do your best. These 4 agreements are the work of Don Miguel Ruiz. And just for clarity, let me clarify that it's Don, it's not Don. His name is not Don any more than Christ is Jesus' last name. Well, Don is not his first name. Don is a reference, like a sir, a mister. So it's called Don Miguel Ruiz. And of the agreements, he writes, if you adopt these agreements, you will then create enough personal power to change the entire system of the old agreements. It will take a very strong will to do this, he says, but the change in your life will be transformative. The drama and the hell in your life will disappear, and you will be able to create your own heaven on earth. These 4 agreements reveal the source of self-limiting beliefs that rob us of joy and create needless suffering. Wow, that is a proposed big change in how we see things with these simple 4 little adjustments. And today I want to cover 2 of them, the intro and 2 of them, and next week I'll cover the last 2 and the summary going out. So the 4 agreements is said to be a Toltec Wisdom book. It says right in the front. And anthropologists have spoken of the Toltec as a nation or a race. But in fact, the book says the Toltec were scientists and artists who formed a society in order to explore and conserve the spiritual knowledge and practices of the ancient ones. The book begins with an introduction called The Smoky Mirror. It tells of a man who was studying to become a medicine man, but didn't agree with a lot of the stuff he was learning. That sounds like me. One night, as he slept, he dreamed that he saw his own body sleeping. He awoke in the middle of the night and stepped outside of his cave. He stared at the millions of stars in the sky, and at that moment, he had a realization that transformed him. He came to the awareness that he, like the stars and everyone else, was made of light. He saw everything as God. He realized that the real us is pure love and pure light. He saw himself in everything, and that everything was built but an infinite manifestation of this one being. In those few moments, he comprehended everything. He wanted to tell everyone, but nobody understood him. He felt like he had no judgment anymore towards anything. He realized that he and everyone and everything was God. That was his revelation. The chapter 1 is called Domestication and the Dream of the Planet. The proposition is that everything we are seeing and hearing right now is nothing but a dream. The illusion reference again. The chapter says, in effect, he doesn't use the word race consciousness, but the same idea is present in it, that somehow we have all accepted agreements in this life in order to coexist. He refers to this as the domestication of the planet. Every letter, he says, every word in our language is an agreement. We accept what we've been taught, told, handed down without choice. We accept it blindly. According to Don Miguel, we never had the opportunity to choose what to believe or what not to believe. Now, earlier I said that there's some similarities with unity. That would not be one of them, because we totally believe in choice all the time. However, it is consistent with the idea that most people do not take the time to consider with any degree of profundity what it is that we've been told. Look at it this way. How many of you read the terms of agreements every time you download an app? Do you agree with the terms? Yeah. Did you read them? No, what for? So, from that angle, I do agree with him. Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. Now, it is important to note that by necessity, we do need agreements in order to coexist. One of them is our language, of course. The other one would be, at a very practical level, streetlights. What would we do without streetlights? Oh, my goodness. You go first. No, you go first. Now, you wouldn't even ask. It's like, I'm going later, you know. But his reference is about something much more profound than streetlights, but even though they're very practical. He says we have thousands of agreements, but the worst one is the one that we make with ourselves. He says that if you want to live a life of joy and fulfillment, we have to have the courage to break those old agreements that were handed down to us. In unity speak, that would be the reference to letting go of all old limiting beliefs. Just let them go so that you can move forward. Think of it this way. Suppose it's 1976. Come on in. Suppose it's 1976 and I walk in here Sunday morning with a lime green leisure suit. You know, with the big the collars and they hang over like that. You can see it, right? And what would you say? You'd probably say something like, bro, you are looking all kinds of cool in that suit. Because I was 24 years old then. But what would you say if I walked in here now in that same suit? You can picture it, right? It ain't pretty. It is not pretty. You would say, brother, you need to release that suit. You need to let it go. Same thing holds true with our old beliefs. We outgrow them. They may have worked at one point. They don't work anymore. So that being said, that is a very unity idea. So let's move on to the first agreement. It says, be impeccable with your word. We're very familiar with this in unity. We talk about the power of words and the power of the word all the time. And why? Because the words and the power of the word is how we create. That's how the whole scripture starts. So he says that the first agreement is the most important one and also the most difficult one to honor. It is so important that just this one adjustment, breaking this one agreement, you will be able to transcend to the level of existence that he calls heaven on earth. Now that's a really big statement. Let's take a look at it. So he advises us, be impeccable with your word. The word impeccable has a Latin root. And if you speak Spanish, you're familiar with that. The word is pecado, it's a sin. So he's telling us to ensure that our words are without sin. And how do we interpret sin in unity? From an original Greek terminology reference, which means missing the mark. It's an archery reference. So he says, simply put, because it is a gift from Spirit, we have the power to create. It is through the word that we manifest everything. The word is the most powerful tool we have. The caveat is this. It is a two-edged sword. It can heal or it can harm just as easily, both ways. Our words can create the most beautiful dream or life that we can possibly imagine, but it can also destroy everything around us. Our words are so powerful that one word can change a life or destroy the lives of millions of people. And here he cites the example of Hitler. Through his words. He didn't do anything. It was just through his words that got his people to do all these things. So the first agreement is be impeccable with your word, and it is summarized like this. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Agreement number 2 is don't take anything personally. Now, what do you suppose is the underlying idea here? Our fragile little ego that thinks that everything is about us, right? Why? Because I'm the center of the universe. That's why. There is another underlying idea here, though, based on an anonymous quote that I have used in the past. And the quote is, "We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are." So a slight change in that quote, and we get this. People don't see you as you are. They see you as they are. Now, this variation didn't come from Don Miguel. It came from Don Tomas. But the point is the same thing. Whenever you take someone's comments personally, and again, let's be real, we do it all the time. You do 2 things. First, you give them your power. And second, we accept their perspective as accurate. And when we understand that there is no way they can possibly know you, and you know that any more than you could know me, then it makes absolutely no sense to take anything they say personally. He says their opinion is not about you, it is about them. It is about their consciousness. Yet we take it personally all the time, and it causes us misery and further adds to the absurdity of taking things personally. It's a vicious little cycle. But we as humans, in our little ego, we do get caught up in this. And he says we need to break that agreement with ourselves. Because we're accepting their opinion of us, we are empowering them even though it is not accurate. So break that agreement. Stop taking things personally. I challenge you to catch yourself next time that you do. And just remind yourself, no, I'm not, whatever that person said is not about me. It is something that they're dealing with. So number 2 is summarized this way. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality. When you are immune to the opinions and the actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. Now we can get a little background music, Mr. Dan, please. So let's end today's lesson by taking a few moments to remind ourselves of these truths. We begin, as we always do, by taking a few deep breaths and centering ourselves in spirit. We are so grateful to have this wonderful spiritual center as part of our lives. It feeds our soul, it feeds our spirit. We give thanks for the time spent here together in love and harmony as a loving spiritual community. We are reminded today of the power that we have to create our world through our words and our feelings that we choose. We strive every day, every week, to be mindful of this power. We make a conscious effort to not take things personally. We remind ourselves that every time we do, we give our power away, which can only bring us needless disharmony. Every action is a choice. And as we release these old agreements, we replace them and are filled with the peace and harmony that is our divine inheritance. So for this day and for this time together and for this wisdom that we take in today and make conscious effort to use, we say, thank you, Spirit. And so it is.